The rain had been falling all night, pounding against the cracked windows of the small diner on the edge of town. It was the kind of rain that seemed to echo the heaviness in her chest, every drop a reminder of the weight she carried. Inside, the neon lights buzzed faintly, illuminating the tired figure of a young waitress who moved from table to table with a weary grace. Her apron was stained, her hair pinned back in a hurry, and yet there was something unshakably beautiful in the way she fought through exhaustion, forcing a smile for every customer who barely noticed her presence. She was holding on, but only barely. What no one in that diner knew that night was that she was standing on the edge of losing everything, her home, her dreams, and maybe even her will to keep going. And yet, in the most unexpected way, her life was about to change forever, all because of one stranger's decision to leave a tip that would alter her destiny. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of one small act to change a life, then please pause for a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more stories of hope and humanity to the world. Her name was Claire. She was 26 years old, and though she once had dreams of becoming a teacher, life had unfolded differently. Her father's illness had consumed the family's savings, and after he passed away, her mother spiraled into depression, leaving Claire to carry the weight of responsibility for both of them. Bills piled up faster than she could count. Her student loans remained untouched, growing larger with interest, and her full-time hours at the diner barely made a dent in what she owed. Still, she worked tirelessly, often covering shifts for others, because she couldn't afford to say no. But behind the forced smiles and polite greetings, Claire was crumbling. Her shoes had holes worn through the soles of her feet aching from standing long hours. She often skipped meals, giving whatever tips she made directly to bills or groceries for her mother, pretending she had already eaten at work. Nights were the hardest. She would collapse on the old couch they shared, too tired to even cry, staring at the ceiling as though it might whisper answers. On that particular night, the diner was quieter than usual, only a few lonely souls sipping coffee at the counter. The rain hadn't stopped, and Claire watched water slide down the glass like tears she refused to shed in public. Just when she thought the shift would drag on endlessly, the bell above the door jingled. In walked a man, mid-40s, dressed in a simple jacket, his shoes damp from the storm. He carried an air of stillness, as though the chaos of the world outside hadn't touched him. Claire straightened her apron and approached his table with the same tired smile she offered everyone. She didn't notice the way his eyes lingered a little longer than most customers did. He wasn't just looking at the menu, he was looking at her. At the slump in her shoulders, the way her fingers trembled slightly as she held her notepad, the faint shadows beneath her eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. He noticed her struggle in a way others overlooked. The man ordered a simple meal, black coffee, scrambled eggs, and toast. Claire served him quickly, and though she was polite, there was no extra energy left in her voice. Still, she checked on him once or twice, offering more coffee with that practiced smile. He spoke little, but his eyes never lost their thoughtful watchfulness. She assumed he was just another quiet diner, and when he finally finished and asked for the bill, she handed it to him with the same gratitude she offered every paying customer. But something unusual happened. The man lingered after paying. He slid the receipt back across the table, placed cash on top, and offered her a small nod before leaving. Claire glanced at the table, and her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't the meal payment that shocked her, it was the tip. At first, she thought she was mistaken, her tired eyes playing tricks on her. But no, it was real. Several crisp bills lay there, far more than her entire paycheck for the week. Her heart pounded as she quickly picked them up, tucking them into her apron pocket before anyone else noticed. She looked around for the man, but he was already gone, swallowed by the storm outside. For a moment, Claire just stood there, her mind blank, her throat tight with emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in months. When she finally counted the bills in the back room, tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. It wasn't just a generous tip, it was life-changing. Enough to cover the overdue rent notice that had been taped to their door that morning. Enough to buy groceries for weeks. Enough to finally breathe without the crushing weight of fear for just a little while. But what struck her even more than the money was the message scrawled on the back of the receipt. Just 6 words, "You matter more than you know." Claire held that receipt like a lifeline. Someone had seen her. Someone had looked past the tired waitress uniform and recognized the human being beneath. Someone believed she mattered. And that belief planted a spark in her that no darkness could extinguish. The next morning, Claire walked to the landlord's office and paid the rent in full. His surprised expression didn't matter. What mattered was that she had secured a roof over her mother's head for another month. With the remaining money, she stocked the fridge with real food, fresh fruit, vegetables, even a small cake that made her mother smile for the first time in weeks. For the first time in what felt like forever, Claire felt the faint glow of hope flickering inside her. But the story didn't end with that tip. The man never came back to the diner, but his act of kindness stayed with Claire, urging her forward. Inspired, she began to believe in her own worth again. She applied for a scholarship program she had once dismissed as impossible, writing her heart out about her struggles and her dreams of teaching. She worked hard at the diner, but now she carried herself differently. Her smile became more genuine, her spirit a little stronger. Other customers began to notice her warmth, leaving kinder tips, small notes, or words of encouragement. It was as though the universe had finally seen her perseverance and decided to reward her courage. Months later, Claire received an email that left her breathless. She had been awarded a partial scholarship to return to school. It wouldn't cover everything, but it was enough to get her started. Her mother, now slowly healing with therapy, hugged her tightly, whispering how proud her father would have been. All of this, every step forward, she traced back to that one rainy night, to the stranger who left behind not just money, but belief. That belief became the foundation upon which she rebuilt her life. Years later, Claire stood in a brightly lit classroom, a chalkboard behind her, children's eager faces in front of her. She was finally a teacher. On her desk sat a framed receipt with those 6 words that had saved her. Whenever doubt crept in, she looked at it and remembered. And in every student she encouraged, in every struggling child she reminded of their worth, she passed on the ripple of kindness that had once saved her own life. Sometimes, she still thought of the man in the diner. She never knew his name, never saw him again. But she hoped, wherever he was, he knew what he had done. That one tip, one act of generosity, had not just helped a struggling waitress, it had changed the course of her entire future. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please help us continue sharing such powerful stories by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to I Am Kindness Corner. Your support allows kindness to echo across the world. Speech balloon. Before you leave, we have a special request. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe one small act of goodness can make a difference. Let's flood this space with positivity together. And remember this, sometimes the smallest actions can create the biggest ripples. Never underestimate what your kindness can mean to someone else. After all, you never know whose life you might be saving with something as simple as a smile, or a tip left behind in the quiet corner of a diner on a rainy night.